There's another case, 1975, November 5th.
Mikey Sherrill supports the failed energy plan that shut down power plants to build offshore windmills. The result? New Jersey's electric bills tripled this summer after double-digit rate hikes. Yet Sherrill said,
"We need to move into clean power. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but if you're a good person, you'll do it."
now Sherrill wants to lock these high prices in. A plan so foolish, it was criticized by fellow Democrat Phil Murphy.
"It's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but if you're a good person, you'll do it."
Mikey Sherrill. More of the same, but worse.
There's another case, 1975, November 5th in Snowflake, Arizona. They were driving home, they all pile up in the truck, and they see this giant UFO. Travis, being really bold and curious, gets really close to it, starts hearing a noise as if it's like powering up. What he remembers is he wakes up on this table, he sees this bright light, he sees these bulbous heads hovering over him. Well, I did ask him this question, if his feet were like hanging off the table, and he goes, no, it's a human-sized table, which I thought was interesting. There's a case, 1954, Jesse Rostenberg describes the same beings. White, orange jumpsuits, jacked, perfect specimens. So I went down that rabbit hole, ended up speaking with Joe McMoneagle, who's the first accepted remote viewer that they hired in the psychic spy program in the 70s during Project Stargate to study this stuff.
CIA.
Yeah.
What would happen? Hey guys, thank you so much as always for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well. It is the #1 thing that helps these videos get into the algorithm and allows us to grow our channel. So thank you to all of you who have already subscribed, and thank you to all of you who are doing so now. Enjoy this episode with Chris Ramsey.
What up, Chuck?
You were just telling me this off camera, Chris, but there's more to the Zimbabwe story than even I know. We were talking about the 1994 sighting and everything.
Yeah.
And you said it happened like the night before?
There was, yeah. There's a lot of sightings the night before. You know, Randall Nickerson did a great job on the, what is it called, the aerial phenomenon. Great movie.
He's wearing my boy Jesse hat. That's lit, yo. He wearing my boy Jesse hat.
So close.
Shout out American
involved, you know, with,
Alchemy.
Emily Trim, who's,
American Alchemy.
sadly
Shout out to my
passed away
folks.
not too long ago. He was very close with her. And
How you doing?
there, but yeah, he interviewed.
We got one in the
pilot
chat.
as well. I think you can check this out on their YouTube channel.
What's
I don't
good,
think
chat?
they made the cut of the movie,
Oh, wow.
but the pilot talks about
Right now I'm watching,
something on the radar as well that kind of moves across the radar.
I'm watching my
not
boy
probably
Danny
glitch or
Jones.
whatever.
The night
He's
before
interviewing
the kids,
Julian
Yeah,
Dory.
there was stuff going on
Dory.
in space the night before.
Yeah, Dory.
But there was also space debris re-entering orbit. And I think that a lot of debunkers and a lot of people who were looking for something turn to that. But every other day we get something, you know, re-entering orbit. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that and the fact that, yeah, a lot of people, you know, saw some stuff the night before. On top of that, there is a giant uranium mine close by as well. So
It's a uranium mine right there?
yeah,
That's nice and convenient.
yeah. So it seems, you know,
Wow.
What do the aliens want with uranium?
I don't know. Maybe they just want to know what we want with uranium.
That's what I think.
You know,
They're just
What?
studying us where they're little
Maybe.
squirrels or ants.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, don't play with that. Don't play with it. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's the case. That was the one that very early on in me really thinking about this stuff made me go, whoa.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of kids.
Kids, man.
Now, kids, you know, listen, there's always some sort of explanation that could say the other side's true. But when you look at how they describe potentially encountering those ETs, you know, out hopping on the logs just off where their school campus was there in Zimbabwe, and the consistency of all of them describing it, and then the patterns that they go through, like the telepathic nature of the communication specifically being about how, you know, you humans have no idea what you're capable of, or, you know, basically like themes of don't blow yourselves up, like
Yep.
as a human race, etc. The size of the beings, you know, in the 3-foot area, the way they looked. This is all pre-internet era.
Yeah.
So it's not like people could be on like Reddit threads and like do copycat in that way. And when you look at all the different sightings around the world, across the continents, everywhere, the ones I'm thinking of are pretty much every continent except Antarctica that I'm aware of, although there's a lot of stories from Antarctica. It's like when you look at all those sightings from World War II on, the patterns of what they describe
Mhm.
are very, very similar, and that's what gives me pause, because I'm like, okay, I know all these people didn't like come together in a group in a chat room somewhere in 1971. You know, this is happening over a lot of different years, again, all pre-internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rua in Zimbabwe, you know, there's a lot of really interesting things there to look at as well. So not only were there children witnesses, there were teachers that witnessed that stuff too. You know, people forget that. There were adults that just were afraid to come forward. But there were way more witnesses than were documented in the documentaries.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't want to come forward.
Yeah.
And one thing that I like is you look at the drawings and they're not all exactly alike. Now, upon initial inspection, you might think that that is, you know, that leads, oh, maybe they're lying. But actually, for me, it tells me that they're telling the truth, because when you remember something, if everybody remembers it exactly the way it happened, that's a script. Right? And this is like, there's just enough deviation between the stories where you're like, no, there's clearly, you know, the fundamental story here seems to be true.
There was also, I think it's the principal of the school, someone high up in the school later came forward years later apologizing because she didn't believe them.
Yeah.
And once she had seen all the evidence that they presented, and obviously like the studies that had been done by Dr. John Mack from Harvard and all that, she was like, oh my God, like it seemed crazy, of course, but I should have listened. And that's nuts to me, because even if something like this did happen, wherever it happens in the world, we are trained to be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. And, you know, it's one of the things where you start to go, why, right? Why children? Why this place? Now, if you look at that school, it was an international school.
Yes.
There's children from all around the world, all races and backgrounds and religions. And, you know, as I was talking to a friend of mine, Luigi Venditelli, who is also really close with Emily Trim, he's currently working on the Bob Lazar movie. And he was telling me, like, if you were to sort of test humanity on, you know, contact and how you know, what would happen if contact happened, that's how you would do it. You know, people say, oh, I wanted to land on the White House lawn. No one's going to believe it.
It's the biggest UFO.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to believe it. It's going to feel like a setup. It'll feel like them. It'll feel like you know, it's some type of U.S. military thing, like a psyop. No one's going to buy it. So, you know, for them to do it at a school where there's innocent children, and like, this is like the perfect way to make contact when you think about it.
Yeah, I actually, you know, I try to think as best I can, which is completely impossible, but from what we can as like a human brain, I try to think about what would I be thinking if I were like an advanced civilization, whatever it is, and I were coming here to study the people here. And I've always wondered about like the simulation theory. And I'm not talking about Rysberg.
Sure.
I'm talking about them literally wanting to simulate what would happen if, you know, blank, as an example. When you hear about like a UFO being sighted, whether it be like Lonnie Zamora out in the desert where he actually saw it and they allowed him to be seen or whatever, if a civilization were able to like bend wormholes or whatever, or bend the speed of time and to be able to get here, I gotta think they figured out invisibility, or, you know, speeds that are so high that no one can ever be seen, or be able to prevent anything like a crash in our universe. So that all being equal, it's like maybe then they're like, ooh, let's see what happens if we crash.
Yeah.
Show them one, and just see how people will react to it, because most people won't believe it. But like, what will the civilization down there on Earth do when someone comes home and goes, yo, I just saw aliens?
Yeah. The donation theory too. You know, it's really interesting. I've given a lot of thought on, especially like the abduction side and a lot of the sightings, and what it seems to me, it's like the kind of working theory that I have right now is that we are dealing with some type of system. And the reason I say that, like, are you familiar with, like, and I hate quoting 4chan as being a source here, but there has been, like, you know, this one guy that came out on 4chan who was like, oh, I worked at an underground thing that we were looking at, this mobile construction unit in the ocean, this giant thing, and like in the Atlantic that we're tracking that deploys these UFOs. and they go right back to it. And now after that, he said at the end, which is something that stuck with me, notice yourself coming back to this thread. And I swear, every time we get an update from whether it's Congress or we get some, oh, they're in the ocean or the drone flaps or whatever it is, it always leads back to what that guy was saying. So my conviction level, started really low on that, and it's been growing ever since. And so I'd put that into this theory as, okay, if I were to, let's say I had the technology to bounce around the universe at will, okay? We've established it. It's been billions of years. Our civilization has been around, and I can now blink anywhere I want in the universe.